Hello everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the 2013 Candidates Tournament. We have a game between Boris Gelfand and Magnus Carlsen. As you've seen, Carlsen drew his game in round 1 and round 2 with Aronian and Vladimir Kramnik. Now he faces Gelfand, and we do have a photo of this encounter. Here we have Gelfand on the left, Carlsen on the right. And although this is a photo of the third round, but we also must address the choice of beverages. So here we have Boris Gelfand sipping on his little coffee. Well, we can only presume it's coffee, but what else would you drink out of such a small mug? And we have Magnus Carlsen with whatever this is, but I'm sure it became quite popular after the 2013 Candidates Tournament. And also we have a very nice photo of Vassily Ivanchuk, also from round 3. So there are a lot more photos from round 3. I will put a link in the description below where you can check out all of them from the official 2013 Candidates website. But until then, let's check out this game. So Gelfand has the white pieces and he opens with d4. Knight to f6, we have c4, e6, knight to f3 and d5. So transposing into the Queen's Gambit declined. Knight to c3, knight b to d7, bishop to g5. We have c6, e3, and now Carlsen goes for a very old line, queen to a5. This is the Cambridge Springs variation, and if you've ever checked out a book on the Queen's Gambit declined or something, there's surely a whole chapter about Cambridge Springs variation, and it's a really wild variation. If you're not careful, things can get out of control very soon. For example, in the game c captures on d5 was played, but I'm just going to show one variation just to show you how crazy things can get straight out of the opening. For example, if white were to continue bishop d3, let's say knight e4 now, we have bishop captures, pawn captures. Now the knight is attacked. If you move the knight, then queen captures bishop on g5. So you have to go knight to e5, and now we have this f6 move. And here things really go crazy. For example, knight captures on d7, queen captures on g5, preventing queen to h5 check for the moment. But now knight captures on f8, queen captures on g2, threatening to capture the rook. But now comes queen to h5 check. G6, and now knight captures on g6. Queen captures on h1, king to d2, and queen captures on a1. Knight captures on h8, this is a discovered check. King moves, knight f7 check, king to c7, and here we have a position where black is up the exchange, but clearly white has a better position. The queen can easily come back to the queen side, and after this is blocked, come to a3, defend the b2, and then maybe even go to e7. All in all, a better position for white. But just a taste of what this variation can offer. But in the game, Gelfand went for c captures on d5, knight captures on d5, and rook to c1, protecting the c3 knight. Knight captures, pawn captures, and now bishop to a3. Carlsen attacks the rook on c1, rook to c2, and now goes b6, preparing to develop the light square bishop, as well. Bishop to d3, bishop to h6, we have castles by Gelfand, captures, and Carlsen castles. E4 now, Gelfand prepares e5 to completely dominate the center, rook f to e8, and e5 immediately. Carlsen plays h6, bishop to h4, and now c5, attacking Gelfand's strong center. Knight to d2, preparing knight to c4, pawn captures, and now rook to c8. Carlsen offers the exchange of rooks. Knight to c4 with an attack on the queen and on the bishop, and now queen to b5. There's no danger of capturing the bishop, as the knight is now pinned, the queen on d3 is undefended. So first Gelfand goes f4, we have rook to c7, Carlsen is preparing to double up rooks on the c file. Queen captures on a3, rook captures on c4, rook captures, queen captures, and bishop to f2. First defending the d4 pawn, it was under attack. We have queen back to c7 by Carlsen, now defending the a7 pawn, and rook to c1. Developing the rook also with a tempo on the queen. Queen to b7, and now queen to d6. A reasonable move. Rook is coming to c7. If Carlsen allows this, then he loses the knight and the game. So first, knight to f8. You could go rook to c8 immediately, but first Carlsen goes knight to f8. From there, Carlsen is planning that Gelfand will at some point push f5, and when e captures on f5, knight will have a very nice outpost on e6. And Gelfand first plays g3. There's no... White doesn't really gain anything by rook c7, although it seems like a very powerful move. But after queen to a6, a3, you can't allow black to capture the pawn. Then black can play simply rook to c8, and then again all is well. Carlsen brings the queen back into the game, and after g3, then it's actually Carlsen's queen that infiltrates the position. So after knight to f8, first g3 by Gelfand, rook to c8, rook captures, queen captures, and now d5. Okay, it wasn't f5, it was d5, but still, e captures on d5, queen captures, and now g6. Carlsen plays g6, knight will come here, and then the black king will be nicely protected, and the white king will be somewhat more open. King g2, we have knight to e6, and now queen to f3. King to g7, and here a3 by Gelfand. Another idea was f5, but the problem is after g captures, queen captures, there's really nothing for this queen to do here. After queen to c4, attacking the a2 pawn, queen f6 check, king moves, you do win the h-pawn, but now queen captures on a2, and then you would have two passed pawns on the queen side, and this is a much greater advantage than the passed h-pawn on the king side. So after king g7, we have a3, and here we have h5 by Carlsen. h4, queen to c2, queen to b7, attacking the a7 pawn, and now queen to a4, defending the pawn and attacking the a3 pawn. Queen to f3, the queen must go back to defend the a3 pawn. We have b5, now f5 finally does come, g captures, queen captures, and now queen captures on a3. Queen captures on h5, and we go into a similar position where Carlsen does have the two passed pawns on the queen side, and Gelfand did manage to open up Carlsen's king a bit, and he has a passed h-pawn. We have a5, queen to g4 check, king to f8, and now Gelfand has to make a move 40. So he has to make one more move before reaching time control, and he's in serious time trouble. This is one thing that was interesting about round 3, that in every game one of the players was in serious time trouble. So was Gelfand in this game against Magnus Carlsen. But it's very interesting that Alexander Grischuk, who was the World Blitz champion, always, I mean, he's a World Blitz champion. Obviously, he's a very, very fast player. But he always got into time trouble while playing classical chess. So that's pretty weird. But okay, Gelfand has to make move number 40 to reach time control, and he plays h5. Queen to h5 was a bit better, not changing the structure of the pawns, not having to decide anything. h5 was played, and later after the game they thought that this move was in fact the move that gave Carlsen some practical chances. Carlsen plays queen to c1, we have queen to e4, and now b4. Carlsen starts pushing his queenside pawns. Bishop to e3, attacking the queen. You could try queen to a8. This does win you the pawn, but it loses the game. King g7, you win the pawn, b3, and then there's no stopping b2 and b1, unfortunately for white. So after b4, bishop to e3, attacking the queen. Also, this will be guarding the h6 square when the pawn is pushed. Queen to c7, queen to a8 check. We have king to g7, and now h6 check. King to h7, and now you really don't have that much to do with white. Queen to e4 check was played, king to g8, and now queen back to a8 check. And now if Carlsen would repeat king to h7, then of course this could be offering a draw by repetition, but Carlsen doesn't play this. He plays queen to d8, and he offers a trade of queens. And here you don't have to trade queens. Well, better yet, you shouldn't trade queens. You should go queen to c6. And the thing is that white could actually stop the pawns. For example, if Carlsen pushes b3, bishop comes here. Now queen to b8, preparing to push the pawn. King f1, Now b2, and this is the problem. Gelfand probably saw this position and he saw the move b2. But the thing is, you can actually you can't push b2 here. You have to bring the queen closer and then push the a pawn. If you play b2 here and capture with the bishop, then queen captures on b2 doesn't win the game for black. It's actually better for white. Now queen e8 check is coming. Now you can't go to g7. The pawn is guarding the square. You have to move, and now comes queen captures on f7 check. Captures, and now it's actually 2 pawns to 1 in favor of white. So who knows why Gelfand didn't go into that variation, or he saw that it doesn't work. He saw that b2 doesn't work. You simply have to bring the queen in with black and then push the a pawn. Maybe even that. But okay, he played queen captures, knight captures, and now it's 2 passed pawns on the queen side for Carlsen and a passed h pawn, but it's a really advanced passed h pawn. It'd be much easier to play this for Gelfand if this pawn was still on h4, if he didn't push that pawn to h5. But he did have to reach time control, so he pushed it. King to f3, we have a4 now, king to e4, knight to c6, bishop to c1, knight to a5, bishop to d2 now, attacking the b4 pawn. Now comes b3. Of course, you cannot capture the knight. If you capture it, then b2, and you can't stop the pawn from queening. So after b3, king to d3, bringing the king closer. Now comes c4, knight c4. Again, you can't capture the knight. If you capture the knight, then b2, you can't stop the pawn from promoting. So after knight to c4, we have bishop to c3, and now a3. G4. King to h7, now g5, guarding the h6 pawn. Carlsen plays king to g6. We have bishop to d4. Now comes b2 and king to c2. And this is a beautiful position for you to analyze and try to find a move that wins the game here for Carlsen. There's pretty much only one move that surely wins the game. Feel free to pause it, and it's not, you know, you have to give it some time, you know, don't rush it. So I will give it a couple of seconds as usual. For those of you who were able to find the winning move here, congratulations, you are an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, here Carlsen played knight to d2, and in this position Boris Gelfand resigned the game. If you found something like a2, of course this doesn't work because bishop simply captures and then you're preventing. If knight captures, then the king is also preventing the pawn, so not this. After king c2, knight to d2. Now of course the idea is b1, and this is winning. The knight is now guarding the queening square. Of course, if you capture the knight, then you grab a queen. That's self-explanatory. But the idea is after bishop captures, now you have a captures on b2. Again, you're threatening b1 queen, and if you capture the knight, of course, you get another queen. So you have to capture the pawn, and now comes knight c4 check. King c3, knight captures on e5, and wherever you go, king d2, or it doesn't really matter, the knight will come to f3, and then we'll pick up this pawn. And at some point, you will simply capture the h6 pawn, and now it's a pawn and a piece against a bare-naked king, a completely winning position for black. So yeah, the game didn't play out all the way here. After knight d2, Gelfand saw that this is completely winning, and he resigned the game. So yeah, that's the game. Boris Gelfand versus Magnus Carlsen from round 3 of the 2013 Candidates Tournament. I would like to thank Oliver Perge and Igor Latsik for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. So Carlsen is now 2 out of 3, drawing the first 2 games, winning the 3rd game, and we'll show at least 1 or maybe 2 more games from round 3, and then we'll talk a bit more about the standings after round 3. So yeah, once again, I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and have an excellent rest of the Sunday. Thank you all.